Welcome in, everybody, to the Think and Grow podcast with your host, Dr. Z.
And Professor P.
You guys ready for a little thunder? We got Mitch Thunder Nelles with us today, baby. Mitch, get us rolling. Little lightning strike to start off? Whatever. Okay.
I do use that one in my Facebook Live. That is
Nice.
that is proprietary. That is mine. But no, that's it's thunder, and here we are.
So where do you want to start? You want to tell us a little bit about yourself? Do you want to start with, you are a celebrity in town here, right? Being a radio talk show host, right? You want to start there? You want to tell us a little about your family? Where are we starting?
Where are you from?
Yeah.
So born and raised in Boston, and so I grew up in Boston, and I moved here. I always had family in Milwaukee. I moved here when I was 14. I went to Nicolay High School. I went to the University of Wisconsin in Madison, and thought I'd be a writer, but then got stuck in radio. Not in a bad way, but I got a couple breaks into radio. Did that for about 15 years, then pivoted before pivoting was cool. Right before pandemic, I pivoted into nonprofit work, and now I'm running my own business and doing fun stuff and figuring it out every day.
Nice.
Solopreneur, what I like to say, you're in that phase I was in a few years ago where you're this mega mentor. You're in mega mentor reinventor mode right now, because I tell you what, I went through it. It was rough going through it. I reinvented, figured out how to flip houses, do real estate, met my beautiful wife, Zelda, and the rest is, an ongoing beautiful story. So you may not feel that way. It sounds a little bit from what we talked off camera. You're a little bit into the whole, not quite sure where you want to land just yet, but having fun figuring out the process. Yes?
Yeah, I think, every day is different. And I think I've spoken to enough solopreneurs and small business owners that a lot of people will tell you to find your niche, to figure out what your specialty is, what your thing is. And I really fight against that. And I'm that one who doesn't listen to that advice. And it's probably really good advice. So for most people out there, if you are a solopreneur or you're a small business owner and you find something you're really good at, you should lean into that. You really should go in that direction. I guess where I get myself twisted and in bundles is I like doing the auctioneering, and I like doing nonprofit fundraising, and I like doing corporate sponsorships of events, especially like golf outings and sports events and stuff like that. And I like doing my own podcast, but I also like helping other people produce their own podcasts and that sort of thing. I like doing too many things. And so I've actively refused to lean in to the one thing, that one niche, that one thing. I've had a number of people say, Mitch, you should just be an auctioneer. Like, go be Milwaukee's friendly auctioneer and just crush it and just be awesome at it. And I love that. And I want to adopt that moniker. I want to add that to my website. But I have so many other things that I'm working on as well. I also do a lot of business development for friends of mine who have started their own businesses. And so I'm all over the place. More times than not, it's fun. But more times than not, it gives me headaches and I don't know which direction to go in. And so prioritization is a challenge of mine, but also something that I'm confronting head on. And so it's a lot. You're right. I'm reinventing myself, but I feel like I'm reinventing myself every day, not in a bad way, just in a way that keeps life moving forward and exciting and interesting. And, one day I'll find a investor who just wants to give me millions of dollars and it'll be great.
Well, hey, Mike, I really love that. I think that is awesome, especially when we get into our upper ages. I think that's time for almost a rebirth and a renewal. But I also find it might be helpful also to go back to the things that you loved, when you were a kid. that artistic edge that maybe you didn't get a chance to really pursue and develop. So I know you mentioned writing, and that's something that's near and dear to my heart. I've always enjoyed writing too. So can you talk about how did you go from being a writer to being a radio sportscaster? And we've got our Packer
Absolutely.
jerseys on here.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So my first full-time job, my first year out of college, I had like 4 part-time jobs. I worked for the Bucks. I used to shoot out the T-shirts at Milwaukee Bucks games. I drove
Nice.
the Red Bull. I drove the Red Bull car. Um, I
Wow.
helped run an after school program for like K4 through second graders, which I brought lots of energy to. So that was a lot of fun. But my first full time job after that was I was the sports writer and reporter and editor for the Ozaki Press, which is the community newspaper up
Oh.
in Fort Washington, Wisconsin. And so I always thought
Mhm.
I'd be a sports writer. And that's what I kind of had set out to do. But when I was an undergrad in Madison, one of the guys who actually it was a guy I got to know who seemed to be at every Badgers game, and then I'd see him at Bucks games, and um, he actually was the owner of a sports radio station. I didn't know that at the time. I just thought he was
Wow.
like I just thought he knew all the right people. Well, he was the right people. Um,
Wow.
and so after I was at the newspaper, I actually went to go work for Time Warner Cable for a couple of years, doing
Mhm.
retail sales and getting some business experience and stuff like that. But then he had owned a station in Madison. He bought a station in Milwaukee, and so I actually ended
Mhm.
up going to work for him. So I did sales and I did on air work. And for almost all my 15 years in radio, I was kind of this hybrid again, that if I'd found a niche, if I'd gone into sales, I would have crushed it at sales. If I'd gone into on air and programming, I would have crushed it in on air and programming. But I really liked doing both. And my different
Mhm.
bosses really liked me doing both. Um, so I
Mhm.
did both. And it's
Mhm.
not a common thing. It's more common today because so many people have to wear so many hats. But certainly 15 years ago, there were very few people who were on the air and also selling, and also doing sales and marketing in any media industry. Now you almost have to be selling, or else you're not proving your value. The world has turned on us a little bit. But that's really how it worked. I mean, I
Mhm.
literally, so behind my computer screen, you can't see it because it's facing the other way. I have a whole bunch of post-its up on the wall, motivational sayings
I
or
do
things I
that.
want to get done. And
Nice.
one of them said, write 500 words, and I don't follow that every day, but I have as one
Mhm.
of my goals. I would love to just write 500 words every day. I don't know what that means. Is that short stories? Is that long form? I have a couple novels in my head. Actually, it's just this week, I had somebody approach me with an idea of something I should be doing regarding youth sports because I do coach my daughters and I'm very involved in youth sports.
Mhm.
Um, but I
Mhm.
also I have a couple other, I have a friend whose son is an aspiring pro wrestler. I have another friend
Wow.
who is um, who's ex-military, who really believes his
Mm.
dogs have saved his life, and we all know the suicide numbers of our military members, and it's heartbreaking. And so we want to
Yeah.
write a book together about how dogs can help save our military's lives. So I've
Right.
got all these book ideas in my head. Again, I have not niched myself. Like, am I Milwaukee's friendly auctioneer? Am I running the Thunder MKE podcast? Am I helping nonprofits fundraise? Or am I writing these
Yes.
books? I don't know. I'm kind of doing
Yes.
all of them. I'm kind of doing none of
Yes.
them. Yeah, it
Yes.
depends on the day. Today I'm running on Duncan, which is my being a Boston kid. Thunder runs on Duncan, and I bring lots of
Oh,
any
nice.
situation I'm in. I bring lots of energy to. But that's how, to go back, Professor Pete, to your question, or Doctor Z. Sorry, I you're right. I thought I'd be a writer. I fell into radio. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoy sales. I don't enjoy all processes of sales, which I don't think any of us do, but I really love the relationship side of sales. I
Yeah.
love
Right.
getting to know people. I love hearing their story. I love hearing their background. And I think that's how you can really build a good relationship. And then you can figure out if they're a good fit for what you're selling or what you're offering or what
Mhm.
marketing plans you can put in front of them. I think that relationship piece is so important.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So again, my answer, like my business, is a little all over the place, but I'm okay with that.
He's a little bit country. He's a little bit rock and roll. He's a
Right.
little bit army. He's a little bit this. He's a little bit that.
And I like that, though. You know, your niche will find you.
Right.
So the more you get in touch with that.
I think it's perfect, Mitch, because what the deal is, you're doing what we're doing with our podcast. We have all these different segments, right? And we're going to be adding 2 more, power couples and a self-care segment, which are near and dear to my heart. I don't know why we didn't have them right off the bat, because it's kind of a, we've got all these think and grow. How do we help people? And there's so many ways. But for right now, what we're doing is similar to what you're doing. We've got all these different segments, and we're just going to keep putting them out there until something reveals itself and says, hey, dude, this one. Right?
I love it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Like we try, we fail, we try again, we succeed, we try, we fail, we try, you test the waters. My daughters have a saying at their school that fail stands for first attempt in learning. And I truly believe that whatever we're doing in life, I think, and I also have I have a sales seminar. I guess my TED Talk, if I had one, is the power of no. And so part of that is networking 101. NO stands for networking 101, but it also stands for no's are way better than maybes. So yes, do we all want to get to yeses? Of course we do. And as you're trying to figure out like what's the right path or what's this, you're going to hear no's, you're going to hear yeses, you're going to hear maybes. To me, maybes is the worst answer, because there's hope there, and there's also non-action. If you get a no, that's not the direction, so let's flip the script and go in another direction. And I love that opportunity that a no gives you. So I love yeses more than no's, but I don't mind no's. I really hate maybes. So get rid of all the maybes, Patrick.
I'm a definite maybe. That's one of my favorites, a definite maybe.
Well, Mitch.
So if you're a definite maybe, you're nothing. If you're a definite maybe, you're a nothing. There's no substance. There's no oomph behind a definite maybe. Either you're a yes or a no. If you're not a yes or a no, you're just a maybe. There's no definite or maybe or whatever. Get out of the way. You're in my way at this point.
Yeah. Make a decision. So Mitch Thunder, is that part of your thunder? Bring in the thunder.
Absolutely. So my nickname. So I don't know if you know this now. It's a little different when you're naming a podcast, and you guys are using your initials, so it makes sense. Dr. Z and Professor P. It plays into who you are. But when you have a nickname like Thunder, you can't give it to yourself, right? Like I can't just one day wake up and start calling myself Thunder. So I did not give myself that nickname.
Okay.
So for the record, that was given to me. I was on the air with Steve the Homer True, who's been doing Marquette basketball games forever. He's been a Milwaukee sports radio legend. He's been on the air for 30 plus years. He used to be on Channel 12 News. I mean, he is the man. He is amazing. And so I was on the air with him for about 7 years. And about halfway through that, the name of his radio show had been The World's Greatest Sports Talk Show, which actually it probably should still be called that. He never should have changed the name, but they made him change the name. So it was Homer. I think it was Homer with Mitch or Homer and Mitch or whatever it was. Well, one day there was a paid segment that I was supposed to do, and he just kind of trampled all over it. 5 minutes later, he realized he forgot to call on me to do my segment. And he said, "Oh, Mitch, I didn't mean to steal your thunder." So I committed a cardinal sin. You're never supposed to scream into the microphone, right? But I said, this is how we know it wasn't rehearsed and we didn't plan it at all. I said, "Homer, you can't steal my thunder because it's all thunder." But I yelled it loud. And so from then on, he just started saying, like, with Mitch bringing the thunder. That's what he said. And then he just started calling me Thunder. And so we were Homer and Thunder for, we still have there's still a Facebook page out there somewhere, Homer and Thunder.
Yeah.
And And so that, so that's what we are. So then even when I switched over to iHeart and I had the Mitch Nelles show, it was like with Mitch
Mhm.
bringing the thunder, we've
Yeah.
so all my podcasts, I've had a podcast, I've had It's All Thunder, I've had Bringing the Thunder, I've had,
Nice.
whatever it might be. And again, I've had some people as I started my LLC, there were definitely people who said, lose the thunder thing, like go beyond that. If you're not a sports fan, you don't know what that is. And I said,
Right.
you know what? It's part of my identity. Like I have as
Yeah.
one of my taglines is make some noise. And like that's what Thunder does. And that's what I want to help people do. I want to help people make their noise, whatever your noise might be. If it's marketing, if it's fundraising, if it's auctioneering, if it's just like figuring out where you belong in this world, like I want to help you make your noise.
Yeah, I think whoever said that to you, I think they were off base there, because I think that's your part of your branding. That's part of your identity. It's a big part of it's part of your persona. It represents part of who you are, right? And people are like, "Oh, there's that Thunder guy," right? And
Yeah.
if it's okay, he's like, "Well, nobody knows Thunder in other than the sports world." Well, say no problem, because that's my job to get that known to everybody out there, right? That's the way I see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
think,
no like and
and I
trust.
still, I mean, even I'm trying to think where I was. Oh, I was picking up my daughter this week from First Stage. She takes classes at First Stage. She's in
Mhm.
an acting class. Some guy comes
Oh,
up to me and he's like, "You're Thunder, right?" Now I haven't been on the radio in 4 years. And he
Right,
says, "You're Thunder." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, I used to listen to you all the time, man. What are you up to these days?" And I said,
right.
"Well, I'm still running my Facebook page. And so I do a weekly Facebook Live. You can catch up with me there." He's like, "Yeah, you guys, you and Homer and Thunder are great." And I'm like, man, it's nice to still, like, as I tell people, I'm like a pseudo local celebrity. Like, I'm not even a
Right,
local
right.
celebrity. I'm a pseudo local. But when I go to a Bucks game or when I go to a Brewers game and there's a few people here and there who recognize me still, I'll take it. Like that,
Yeah.
that feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. Plus, it gives you an opportunity and what the guy was a perfect lead in. He's like, dude, what are you doing these days? And you're like, well, I'm doing tons of stuff. And then it's just another opportunity for you to network a little bit and get your branding and your name even further out there, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
so talk about the fundraising. How did that fit into? I mean, I guess fundraising and sales probably go hand in hand. You have to be out there meeting people, but talk about that a
Exactly.
little bit.
So that's kind of exactly right. And when I was on the radio, I realized as I was getting deeper and deeper into my radio career back in 18 and 19, that one of the things I really loved the most was when we would do a radiothon or a partnership with a nonprofit. I remember years ago we were doing an on-air fundraiser for Hunger Task Force,
Mm.
and we were on the air, and I said, if I get 10 people to call up right now and donate $100, I will shave a mohawk into my head. We were at a pick and save on Miller Parkway, and there was a Great Clips and a strip mall right next to us. And I said it. Within 10 minutes, 10 people called up and donated $100 each, and we had our $1,000. I walked into Great Clips. I buzzed, I had them shave the sides, and I
Wow.
and I've always been very involved in the communities I've lived in. I'm very active. Whatever. I've done stuff with Make a Wish. I've done stuff with the Mac
Mhm.
Fund. I've done stuff in my religious community. I've always
Mhm.
tried to be very active, and that's been important to me. So in the fall of 19, I thought to myself, I've been involved in media sales. I love a
Mhm.
microphone, clearly,
Yeah.
and what you know so maybe it makes sense. So again, back to that point I made earlier, I pivoted before pivoting was cool. Everybody pivoted once
Yeah.
pandemic hit. I pivoted the fall
Yeah.
before pandemic, and I
Mhm.
started looking in that fall while I was still employed in radio for some nonprofits that made sense. And I got down the road with a couple of them. I actually ended up taking a position in January of 2020 with Children's Hospital.
Oh, nice.
Where I
Oh.
was, yeah, and I was really excited. I mean, part of me thought I was going to be there for the rest of my career.
Oh.
So I started in January 2020, and then we all got sent home in March of 2020, and my position wasn't there
Yeah.
anymore in May of 2020. So, and listen, things happen, and that's just the way it goes. But I think that was the big thing, is that I had all this sales experience, so I thought that would translate well to fundraising experience. I have a lot of
Mm.
networking connections, so whether it was personal or looking at businesses, I had a lot of people I could call on in terms of fundraising, and I wanted to make a difference. I thought, here I'm helping businesses with their marketing plans and with their media plans and stuff like that, and that, I think there's a lot of value to that. But now I can
Yeah.
pivot that and help save kids' lives. All of a sudden that felt better in my soul. Like that was the move I needed to make at that time.
Yeah.
And so, but you're right. A lot of those skills on the sales side, a lot of those skills on the microphone side, where I could host an event, or I could be on stage and be, totally comfortable, introducing, the family that we have the spotlight on, or whatever it might be. Um, a lot of those skills from the radio side, from the on air, and from the sales side translated very nicely to the fundraising side. And still, the auctioneering thing kind of makes sense to me, because I love the philanthropy and I love the microphone. But I like to go
Yeah.
beyond, and that's why I call myself Milwaukee's friendly auctioneer. Is that I get to know your executive director. I want to meet with your board members. I want to meet with some people who've been touched by your mission before I go on stage. I know a lot of auctioneers just
Right.
show up, they do the blah, 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 then they walk off their
Yeah.
stage and they cash their check, and
Uh,
that's fine. I want to dig deeper. I want to be a part of your
mm.
mission. I want to know more about what you're about and what drives you and what your passions are. And so that's why I love doing what I do.
Nice. It sounds like if you, gals and guys, if you listen real close to what he's saying here, he's giving you little tips and tricks and ideas, and talking about relationship. I want to get to know you in real time. He's telling you some of the things that he's done since leaving that radio world. Tell us more about all of what you gathered over those 15 years or so in the radio world, and how some of those, take maybe one or two and tell us how those things are. You just touched on relationships, so maybe pick another one, but one or two things that are really serving you well, that you're like, man, I never thought I would be using that back in the day, but all of a sudden it just popped up and it served me really well. Like the superpower is the microphone, right? Because you're really great in front of the microphone, you're relaxed and all that.
Sure. It's funny you say that, because I was going to say relationships. I mean, to me, I could talk about relationships all day, and I'll pick another one too. But I want to lead with relationships, because I
Sure.
just think, whether you're, and I was in sales and I was in media, but I think no matter what profession you're in, whether you're working for a big corporate, or you're a solopreneur, or a small business, or anywhere in between, I think it starts with relationships. And I think the people who don't get that are really starting to get left behind. I see way
Yeah.
too many business leaders who don't understand the value of their humans, and don't understand the value of their relationships, and think they've gotten ahead because they've stepped on people. And you know
Yeah.
what? They probably have gotten ahead because they've stepped on people. But I don't think that works as much moving into the future as it worked over the last 40 years. Like, that's a very 80s mentality.
Right.
With our focus on Wall Street and all those sorts of things. Like, that's how our society thought in the 80s and 90s. And I just think that there's an element of kindness and an element of humanity that that to me goes back to that relationship piece. So I know you wanted me to focus on something else, but I will always start with relationships in that conversation.
Let me just step in here for a second. On top of that, what's the collateral damage, right? What's the long-term cost of going about it that way, right?
Yeah, right. And I think for a long time there wasn't enough of a collateral cost. People could get away with it. I think, with Gen Z, and even with Gen A, which is coming up, which is our young teens and stuff like that, man,
Yeah.
they get no F's. They don't care at all. They're not going to be treated the wrong way. And so this concept that you can treat your workforce or your employees however you want to, isn't going to be a thing moving forward. And so I think it's really going to come back to that relationship piece. Um, and then I guess the other, if I had to think about something else over those 15 years, um, that's beyond the relationships. 'Cause I think relationships, again, open doors, relationship. I mean, there's so many things that the superpower of networking and connecting and
Right.
relationships is for. Um, but I think, the big other thing, and this is a superpower that I have not mastered yet, that I really would like to, is prioritization.
Mm.
I think there's a lot of room out there for all of us,
Mm.
for at the end of our day, set up our list for the next day, or at the beginning of the day, set up our list for that day. I was watching a video earlier today, actually, where this gentleman said his secret is that Friday, when he's done with work on Friday, he sets up his list for the
Mm.
whole next week. Now, sometimes
Yeah.
things go sideways, and sometimes things,
Right.
but we talk about time blocking things out on our calendar. But
Mm-hmm.
that concept of prioritizing what needs to get done. I think one of the other post-its I have up in here is, something that needs to get done for your client is always on the A list. Something that, or something that hold on, something that you've promised to someone else is always on your A
Mm.
list. You know, and
Right.
and I think that's true, but that goes back to prioritization. Like, I love having a clean email inbox. That's a big deal to me. And I look at my email inbox right now, and I'm at, hold on, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm at, hold on, bring it up. I'm at 93 emails, 94. Just got one this second. I have 94
Wow.
emails right now, which is really stressing me out. When I got back from vacation, I was around 500. I woke up
Okay.
yesterday, I was at about 250. I woke up today, I was at about 130. I'm down to 86, but they're all emails that I want to take action on. They're all things
Okay.
I want to respond to. They're all things. They're things that, whether it's an organization that I'm working on behalf of. Um, One of my other I've a, it's not a part-time. I mean, I'm a, I run my own LLC, but one of the organizations I
Mm.
help is a rural health care clinic where I help
Mm-hmm.
out with their social media and I help out with their collections. And I have like 6 or 7 emails from them. So again,
Mm-hmm.
that falls under that A list of like a promise and a client, and people that I actually, I get paid for that sort of stuff, as opposed to some more volunteer stuff I do. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but that idea, so to me, in my head, my priority is my inbox. But my
Yeah.
priority really shouldn't be my inbox, because that's more for me. I need to make sure and I need to babysit myself every day, that I am prioritizing what needs to get done, that I have promised to other people. Because if I want to be that person that people can count on, that can be taken at my word. And we've all dropped the ball for people. Like, we've all overpromised and underdelivered. And the goal is to
Right.
reverse that. The goal is to underpromise and overdeliver. We all want to
Yeah.
be that person all the time, but to be that person as often as we can, I think is really important as well.
Yeah. I
I
think.
love that. Yeah. I love that you said that, because I was going to ask you what your biggest struggle was, but you've actually taken that struggle and incorporated your strengths. So your strengths are relationships and taking action. And so then this prioritization, which was maybe lower in your personality, you've actually raised it by utilizing your strengths. So that's amazing. I'm really glad that you said that and that you
Well,
showcased that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I
And
appreciate
to
that. And I
tag
think,
on to that.
yeah, I was going to say,
To
one thing I
tag
can
on
say
to that.
is always just be aware of that. Like, I need to
Yeah.
keep it front and center. To your point, Dr. Z, is that, yes, I know it's a weakness of mine, and yes, I know I want to get the other things done. But if I'm aware of it every day, at least I can confront it. Because we all want to run away from our weaknesses, right? We all want to avoid them, and think that we're all
Yeah.
great, and we are all great in our way. But I think that to keep it, front and center and be aware of it is really one of those solutions. Professor P, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. I was going to say a big coaching mantra, part of the training actually with my mentor coach was after we would do a session where he would look in and shadow me with somebody I was working with. At the end of it, he would say, so let's do the recap. And it was always, okay, what do you think went well? What do you think you need to improve on? And what do you commit to getting better or doing better? And along with that, talking about your prioritization, the power is in the questions. What is the one thing I need to do next? If you put that on a Post-it and stick it on your wall and just keep looking at it, you'll get conditioned into, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? Right?
And tying in being. Who do I want to be?
Yeah.
Because that promise keeper, that's powerful for you.
Right.
Yeah.
It is. You know what's funny about that is that if I have a Post-it up here that says, what do I need to do next?
Yep.
The answer is never going to be spend half an hour goofing off on TikTok, right? That's never going to be the answer. But I can't tell you how many times a week I grab my phone and there's TikTok and something. And listen, I actually think a lot of TikTok creators are really creative, are really talented.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a lot of talent out there, but that's not where I need to be spending my time.
Right.
So you know what? I got my Post-it right here. I got my orange Sharpie right here.
Yep.
I'm putting it up right now.
All right. Well, you write it up. I got a little fun thing for you.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm impersonating somebody, and they're like, "Look at this! It's pretty funny." I'm like, "Get that TikTok crap out of my face! I don't have time for that right now."
And pets, we don't have any pets. And I want you to talk more about the dogs and helping your mental well-being. I miss having pets. We grew up with pets. But I love watching the pet videos.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, great. You want a pet? Who's going to take care of that pet? Because it ain't going to be me.
So just so you guys know, we don't actually have any pets.
Okay.
But my daughters are dying for one, and I've told them, I've given them like a list. Like, if we accomplish these 3 things, we'll get a dog. And they know what those 3 things are, and they just got to do them. And because I'm definitely where I come in on the pet conversation is, so I have a very good friend who served in the military, who has had a number of personal obstacles in his life, and he fully believes that he is alive today because of rescue dogs, because he's actually had rescue pit bulls, which, if you train them and you raise them the right way, are some of the most loving, caring, amazing service dogs there are on earth. And so he's actually I think his number one passed away, I don't know, 6 months ago or so, and he's still pretty heartbroken about it. He did replace his number one, so he's got 2 dogs right now, 2 pits, but he is fully aware and present that these dogs have saved his life. That he probably would not be here if the dogs were not part of his life. And so one of his goals is, he has started a nonprofit. He has a counseling job as well, but he's also started a nonprofit about raising the awareness of getting dogs to veterans, because the veteran unaliving numbers are just so alarming and tragic. And it is, I mean, it's science. Like, if you look at the research, having a dog makes you, an exceptional percentage less likely to do self-harm. And so he and I would like to, kind of gather stories of veterans who've been saved by having a pet, having a dog, whatever it might be, and publish that, because and obviously the proceeds would go to veterans, causes. But we believe that there's a real story to be told there, and that our as we don't want to get into politics here, but our public officials probably aren't paying enough attention to these type of things, and these should be easy wins that both sides of the aisle should get behind. Like, saving the lives of our veterans shouldn't be divisive. maybe how we do it and how much money and where it goes and all that. Listen, I don't know anything about policy. I'm not a policy guy. Let's save people's lives.
Yeah.
So that's my buddy Tommy, and he's part of Team Hawkeye. And you can find them on Facebook. Team Hawkeye's there. But he is the evangelist. I mean, he will stand on top of any mountain and tell you, we need to get dogs into, especially veterans who are living by themselves. We need to get dogs in veterans' lives, and get them a partner, get them a pet, get them a friend, whatever it might be, and however they view that pet in their lives, and move forward that way, because there's really a space for it.
Well, I just want to say too, like, I think those dogs, animals, horses, they have that what they call horse sense.
Yeah.
And they can even anticipate when you are depressed, because they're so in tune with our behavior.
Yeah. I think that's a great opportunity for a podcast, right? And the other thing is, it's great that, I was 4 years Air Force years ago, and it's amazing to me that, nowadays we got the big thing is, thank you for your service. I'm like, it's great that people are, we got a long way to go, people. Thank you for your service needs to migrate into and evolve into stuff like what you're talking about. And it's great that we have these podcasts and all this technology, because now it's great that you say that, but people, let's bring it up to the next level and really show our appreciation for all these people that, a lot of them didn't come back, and a lot of them risked their lives, right?
And a lot of them struggle when they get back. A lot of them who get back,
right?
That doesn't mean, that doesn't mean the struggle. You don't just integrate back into normal life like that. It's not easy, and we need to be more cognizant of that, and we need to, we need to really be focused on how we can help people.
Right.
So nothing going on. Boring. Nothing. No projects, no ideas, no nothing. All boring stuff. Right?
You're a blank page.
Exactly.
So I know we kind of changed the subject, but you talked about being an auctioneer. So are you one of those that kind of stands up in the front of the room and says, "So, can you just do a little bit of snippet?" I love hearing that.
What you auction for?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I almost always auction for nonprofits that I think their causes are great. And I have, I'm trying to think what I've coming up this summer. I'm doing, I've just been contacted. I don't know for sure that I'm doing, but I've been talking to the Grand Avenue Club, which provides services and clothing, for men trying to, get back into the workforce and to get their lives back. They're located in Milwaukee. I also work with the Schlitz Audubon Center, which is they work with animals and outdoor and and saving the environment and stuff like that. I've done stuff for the Redeem and Restore Center, which is working with women who have been victims of different kinds of abuse, and all sorts of other organizations as well. Variety of Wisconsin, which works with kids with physical disabilities. I've done their golf outing a number of years. So again, my big thing when I auctioneer is I try to get to know the organization. I want to know your executive director. I want to know your staff. I want to know your board of directors. I want to know people who've been touched and helped by your mission, so that when I go up there, I can help tell your story. That there's a connection there. I've seen way too many auctioneers who literally just go up on the stage and pretend like they're auctioning off cattle. They're auctioning out, they're at the state fair and they're auctioning off like, this cow, then this cow, then this cow, then this cow. And I want to help. So when I call myself Milwaukee's friendly auctioneer, it's partly because, I can, let's say, we got, a dinner for 10 that's happening at one of the Marcus restaurants or one of Omar's restaurants with like carnivore or something like that. And, let's start at 500. I got 596. I need 6. All right, I got 697, 97, 700. I got 798. All right, I got it. All right, let's hold on. All right, we got a couple people raising their hand for 8. But let's think about this dinner, everybody, and let's think about where this money's going to go. And let's think about the number of kids who are going to be helped. All right, we got 800. I got 800. I got 900, 1,000. 1,000. We've got 1,000. Everybody, let's hear it. Let's go. But we're not done. Let's keep going. 1,000, I need 1,200. 1,200. 12,400. All right. You're at 1,400. Wait, you were at 1,200, but you don't want to go to 1,600? Would you go to 1,500? Hey, 1,400. 1,500. Hey, everybody, I got 2 dinners, 1,500 apiece, sold $3,000.
Mohawk, $2,000 more, and you get the mohawk.
That's right. I love that.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. How does maybe going to those fringes, like, do those ideas just come to you as you're doing it? And it's like, oh, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna, those kind of
Improv. Are you an
that
improv guy?
improv and going to
sure.
the edge, audacity.
Yeah.
Use audacity. Yeah.
So I always have a couple things in my pocket, like either jokes
Okay.
or quick stories or shares that I have. But I think a lot of it also comes from because I put in the work beforehand. Because I get to know the stories. I get to know the community that they're helping. And so I know where the money's going. So I know, so I can pull on the heartstrings, but then I can also like tell, like, if these 2 tables are going at it, and I can tell there's this guy over here, and every time he bids, he's talking to his wife, and we're at $1,200 for something. And he's like, and so I'll say into the mic, I'll say, "Excuse me, sir, do you just want to hand the paddle over to your wife? She's clearly making it." And then it's like,
Nice.
a lot of it is reading the room and seeing who's in the room and who's engaged and who's into it. Because I think we can bring, even with really serious. I mean, I think when I did the Redeem and Restore Center last year, which was about women and sex trafficking and all sorts of different abuse. I mean, that's a really serious topic. Like, that's not funny.
Yeah.
There's I mean, it is. But when I'm up there, I kind of need to tell everybody, hey, listen, I'm gonna tell a couple jokes up here. I'm gonna be funny during the auction. I'm not making light of the cause. I'm actually giving us a chance to escape from the cause for a couple minutes to have fun, knowing why we're raising the money. Like, we're raising the money because these women need a place to go live and be safe. And I am not, and I'll tell the audience, I understand the gravity. I understand the seriousness of why we're here tonight. So if I make fun of you that you're bidding this and you're bidding that, and you get up and walk away in the middle of an auction, and I call you out and I make fun of you, I'm not making light of the topic. We're just trying to have fun. We're having fun together because this is a shared experience, while keeping the mission of the nonprofit front and center and serious as it should be.
It's a hybrid because it's you got a serious mission that you're looking to complete, but people that really become successful in anything like what we're doing, podcasting, what you're doing with all of the auctioning and different things, you got to remember, people, it's about entertaining. You have to be entertaining. You have to have a few jokes in your pocket, like you said, and things of that nature, because otherwise you're going to put everybody to sleep. Right?
Right. Yeah. So it's about entertainment, and it's also about connection. You got to read the room. You got to know, like, in some of my rooms, things fly. In some of my rooms, other things don't, things don't fly. And you could be in a room that you think is like a rowdy, crazy room and say the wrong thing, and all of a sudden people give you weird looks, and it doesn't go so well. You could be in a super serious room, and all of a sudden you say something and everybody's on the floor laughing and having a good time. So you got to figure out, you got to know your audience. You got to know what they're there for. Are they there to be entertained, or are they there to get you off the stage because they really just want to see the videos and hear about the mission? And in those cases, that's fine. Like, I'll make it quicker, and I'll tell everybody, hey, listen, I know I'm not the show. Like, I know the mission's the show, or sometimes there's a guest speaker. I know the guest speaker's the show. I'm not the show. You bid more, or you bid, don't wait till going once, going twice sold. Like, if you bid right away, let's get to that number. Let's raise a ton of money and get me out of here. You don't want to hear my voice anymore. Let's hear somebody important. There are important people in this room. I'm not one of them.
You're the driver. You're the driver. You're doing it. Sounds like you're doing a really good job of driving the price up and keeping it entertaining and all that kind of stuff. Well, we are
And then
about at
getting
the
out of
end
the
of
way.
our
And then
time.
getting out of the way.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh, I was saying, and then getting out of the way. Like
Yeah,
knowing when to
getting
get
out of the way. It's like sales, right?
Just like sales.
Bup. Shut up. Let them talk. Right?
Yeah.
Any
And,
parting thoughts, Dr. Z?
And on that note,
Thank you in advance.
I love it.
Just thinking and growing and learning and knowing and thinking and growing and learning and knowing. Yeah. Just thinking and growing and learning and knowing and thinking and growing and learning and knowing. Yeah. Yeah, we're thinking and growing and learning and knowing and thinking and growing and learning and knowing. Yeah. We're thinking and growing and learning and knowing and thinking and growing and learning and knowing. Yeah. We're thinking